All righty, welcome everybody. Welcome to this 10th episode of Doug's Dugout and our 73rd episode for the entire year for the entire media group. Doug, could you believe we've made it all the way to episode number 10?
Yeah, how about that, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, we've gone quite a long way, and the season's not even over. So, the goal is to cover all the way after the World Series, and obviously the other shows are going to keep on going, but we are actually going to hit overall a total of over 100 episodes for the year, so that's a good thing. We're pretty glad about that. Our Twitter numbers are pretty high, our Facebook numbers are definitely high, so we definitely are catching some fans and maybe some haters along the way.
That's funny.
But anyway, Doug, so what's new in the MLB this week?
Well, so far, you know, the bad teams are getting worse, and the good teams are getting better, I guess. Um, but I do want to talk about a little bit about what happened in St. Louis today.
All right.
Is that every year the Cardinals get together and they honor all the great ball players they've had.
Yeah.
And if you look at Bush Stadium, okay, there's their names and their likenesses are out on the outfield,
Yeah.
and so this year we started out honoring three, but what happened was is the third guy he bailed out.
Oh no.
Okay, and yeah, David Freeze. Usually it's two or three. Usually two players and another player that's got something to management that's contributed. Like an owner or a manager like that. Well, this year they had three, and David Freeze was known for being a hero in the World Series in the sixth game where he hit the home run and won the game and all that kind of stuff. He had a decent career between the Cardinals and the Pirates and stuff, but not a Hall of Famer type, not even
Yeah.
for a Cardinal Hall of Fame. So he asked to be bailed out of that. Okay, so he
Okay.
bailed out, but there was two other ball players that were honored, and one was name is was Max Lanier. Max Lanier was a pitcher that played for the Cardinals back in the 40s when the Cardinals had the great teams with Stan Musial, Red Cheney, Zenas Slaughter, and all that and they played at Old Sportsman's Park. Well, he loved playing, and they had some great teams. The Walker brothers, the Walker Cooper, Mark Cooper, and Hal Lanier. Well, about 46 or 47, I believe 47, was there was a Mexican businessman came in and he raided the major leagues. He wanted to start a major league baseball league down in Mexico,
Right.
and so he offered a boatload of money to players that were making 2 or 3 thousand a year. And the Cardinals at that time was owned by a guy named Sam Braden, and he was always known for being cheap. Okay, and so every year Lanier would get in a salary dispute with Braden. Okay,
Yeah.
so in 47, I think it was, they came in, and this Mexican businessman offered him a whole lot of money, offered Musial a ton of money, and Max Lanier, and then there was some other players that jumped. And so when they jumped, Major League Baseball decided to ban them for life.
Wow.
Yeah. So they went down in Mexico and they played 1 year, I think, a little over a year, and then the league dissolved.
Wow.
So yeah, and so Max Lanier never did. I don't believe ever came back. They never did lift that lifetime deal, and so he never pitched again. But he was on in he a lifetime Cardinal. And then his son his son Hallinier, okay, he got signed by the Giants back in the 60s, and he was a first base coach for the Cardinals for, God, forever, 10, 15 years. And he was the one that accepted the award today at the game. Okay.
On behalf
He
of his
got the
dad.
red on behalf of his dad.
Wow.
Okay. And his son's not no youngster either. I can remember his youngster playing a long
Wow.
time ago.
Wow.
But, and then the other guy, okay, so he accepted and so his dad will be put out on the outfield wall and his number will be retired. Okay. And then he'll get the red jacket. Okay. And then the other guy, the other player they honored was a utility ball player that was a coach for the Cardinals. Well, still is a coach for the Cardinals. His name was Jose Oquendo.
Uh-huh.
Jose Oquendo um, from Puerto Rico. And he started out with the Mets. The Cardinals got him in the 80s, early 80s, I think about 85, when Whitey Herzog was there. And he was a utility infielder. And Whitey called him our secret weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he was always known to, our secret weapon, because he could play any position. He could even pitch.
Wow.
Okay. So, he played like 10 years and he had a decent career, but he was always a utility ball player. I mean, it was tough. It was tough to be a a starting ball player when you had Tommy Herr on second and Ozzie Smith on short.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Ken Oberfeld on third, and later Terry Pendleton. So it was, but he always he played the outfield, he played the infield, he pinch hitted and all that. So when he got done, but he's actually better known for his coaching because when he retired, the Cardinals made a coach out of him, which they do a lot, and he worked with the Latin ball players extensively.
Wow.
Early '90s, not a whole lot of you know American ball players knew Spanish and knew how to work with. He knew the, but Jose, worked with them.
Yeah.
Okay, as an infielder, and then as a coach for the infield, and then he was later third base coach for the glory years with Tony La Russa in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Okay, late 90s, early 2000, and then he finally a couple years ago he had to go out and have his knees replaced as a third base coach, and then now he's like my age, and he's more or less retired. He lives in Florida, but he's what they call a roving instructor. He
Uh-huh.
travels from team to team to team. I always thought everybody kind of thought in St. Louis when Tony La Russa left uh, back in 2013, I think it was something like that. That um, Jose would be the manager.
Right.
Okay, he probably would have been one of the first Latin managers in baseball, but the Cardinals decided to go with Mike Matheny
Yeah.
instead, and so I think from then on, I think Jose was still the third base coach, but I think he knew his time had come, and so as a manager, so he would have been a great manager,
Yeah.
but so they honored Jose today, so that
Wow.
was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is
Everybody liked
cool.
Jose.
Yeah. That is cool.
Yeah.
Uh, all righty. Well, let's go ahead and flip to our scoreboard and and our virtual iPad if Safari decides to pop up. There we go. All righty. The American League East. And Baltimore is ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I like Baltimore. Um, I think they may not be able to go all the way, but they're going to go pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Jack Flaherty from what I understand, Jack Flaherty's kind of been a disappointment for him. He's pitched okay, but not super.
He
He was the
just got
one that
traded, didn't
Flaherty
he?
was again. Yeah, he was the one that was a Cardinal young phenom a couple years ago,
Right.
and he's still young,
Yeah.
but he had the infamous rib cage injury in 2020.
Yeah.
He missed most of the year, and then in some arm troubles. But he pitched pretty decent for the Cardinals this year. And then they traded him because he's going to be a free agent, right?
Right.
And they traded him to Baltimore, and he's done okay, but not great.
Yeah. Do you think it's kind of fair to have pretty high expectations of guys like that when they get traded, or do you think that it'll take them a while to get used to the organization? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well, he made some comments on the on the social platform X, formerly known as Twitter. Okay, and there's like Michael, just like Prince, right? And and so he said that something to do with the pitch com, and he said in Baltimore he's never asked him to raise the volume on it because I guess in St. Louis the catchers they spoke real soft,
Yeah.
and
Now,
I guess that's what they meant.
is it the
Go ahead.
is it the catchers, or is it the noise in the stadium? I mean, something's affecting it, no?
Well, I didn't know how to take that. I didn't know it was the catcher that Contreras spoke real soft, or Kisner spoke real soft, or it was the fans.
Yeah.
So I kind of think it might have been the fans. Okay,
Yeah.
and Flaherty's always, I mean, he St. Louis loved him. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal. I don't know. It might have been taken out of deal or
Yeah, I
something.
mean,
I don't know, but
in football, I think they say what the Kansas City Chiefs, the Arrowhead Stadium is pretty noisy, that
yeah,
it's
yeah.
very hard for the opposing team to play there. So you never know. You know.
Yeah, the worst I think I've ever is the old Minnesota Metrodome that was they had the roof like a pillow. It was an
Right.
indoor stadium. God, the '87 Cardinals went in there and they couldn't hear a thing.
Wow.
It was very very loud, very
Very-
loud. That's the worst I think I've ever heard. But those guys, they have ways they can get around it. In
Right.
football they have signals and stuff.
Right. Right.
You know, but
Right. They need to
but
use
the pitch,
Bose.
the
They
pitch
need to use
com.
Bose equipment.
What's it?
They need to use Bose
Uh,
equipment.
Yeah, I don't know what they use. I bet you they keep it pretty hushed up because maybe they're afraid that somebody in the dugout's going to hack into it when they're,
Well, the
you
NFL
know.
was a big Bose thing until maybe about a year or two ago. They started with somebody else for some reason. I don't know what the deal was, but they were big Bose users before. So I don't know.
Got a better deal, I guess.
I guess
You
so.
know.
Naming. Was it what do they call it? Naming rights or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
But
but I think Baltimore is going to go really good, but the trouble is with Tampa Bay. See, there's a scandal out in the NFL right now with not NFL with Major League Baseball with
uh-huh.
Tampa Bay. They have a superstar named uh, Frank Wanda Franca, I think
Uh-huh.
that's his name,
Okay.
and he's up for like pedophile charges or something.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me he was transgender or something.
No, I guess I can't. Right now, they're still in. He's been suspended, and yeah, Wanda Franco, he was their superstar, and um, he's probably the backbone of their offense,
Oh my
and he's
gosh.
been suspended under investigation, and he may
Wow.
never play again in MLB over it.
Yeah, I mean that kind of stuff, especially with mobile equipment these days, mobile phones and stuff like that. People don't understand that, it's not necessarily completely private. So, but
No, it's not.
yeah. And of course,
Yeah,
Toronto's in third place.
yeah. I saw the other day. I saw yesterday that Bo Bichette's on his way back.
Uh-huh.
I think he's going to play right field, so that's going to be and if he's healthy, that's going to be a big help for them. The Cardinal they got on the trade, DeYoung, he hasn't done so great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but he never was. much of a hitter anyway. He's a decent shortstop, defensive shortstop, and he was a shortstop that hit with with power,
Wow.
And his wife posts a lot of interesting pictures on X now.
Yeah.
Okay, she always when she was with the Cardinals, she did mostly of sunsets and stuff like that. So
Wow.
take it for what it's worth. But yeah, and I don't think Jordan Hicks. I don't think Jordan Hicks has lit the fire up for Toronto yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like it's going to be a wild card team. Toronto looks like it's going to be a wild card, and it's going to be Baltimore and Toronto in that division because I think Tampa's going to fall fast.
Yeah. You think they're going to fizzle out? And of course, you've got Boston and the Yankees down at the bottom of that league, of that
Yeah,
division.
really.
Excuse.
Yeah, Boston actually done better than what they were expected to do
Yeah.
this year. They were in it for a long, long time. The Yankees, unless they win the World Championship, nothing's good enough for the Yankees, right?
Of course.
And they've got, Aaron Judge has been out most of the season. Their pitching hasn't been so great, and they got some holes to fill. Cardinal, they got 2 years ago, Harrison Bader, which one of our fan favorites in this family. Harrison Bader when he was with the Cardinals. He's been hurt. He's only in 2 years. He's only played like 72 games I saw, and he's going to be a free agent. He's played pretty decent defensively. He's great. He's a great center fielder,
Yeah.
and he's hitting about 260 at the plate, which that's what he did with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So, but they don't know what they're going to do. Yankees are going to do a lot of rebuilding, but they've never been known for a team to rebuild.
Yeah.
It's always, get as many players next year and then see what happens.
Well, they definitely have fallen fast as Rudy Giuliani has.
It's probably one of the worst Yankee teams ever compared to maybe like was a back in the day when Babe
Yeah.
Ruth, like 1921 or 20, something like 1920, 21, something like that.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth had some health problems. There was all kinds of speculation what he had. But he was sick for just about the whole year. And when he did come back, he couldn't hit with darn, and they had a terrible year. Back then.
Weren't there rumors that he had STDs or something like that?
Yeah. I was going to say that, but
he just couldn't keep his bat in place.
Well, Babe Ruth was a partier. The stories about that. About the old story that I always like to tell that I heard it from an old sports writer named Dick. I think his name was Dick Williams. I think he's probably retired or passed on by now. He was New York Times or somewhere sports writer, and when he said that when he was a young Cub reporter, back in the day, this is like late 20s or so, is that he was traveling with a veteran reporter, and back then the teams traveled with the team on a train, right? It was a big trip going from New York to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Of course, or New York to Chicago, or whatever. And there's a story where, that they're all sitting around, they're telling stories and talking baseball in the train late at night, and all of a sudden here comes this naked woman, or here comes Babe Ruth, naked as a jaybird, rolling down the train aisle. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And there was a young woman with a butcher knife. She kept, she was chasing after him, and she said, "I'm going to cut you, I'm going to kill you," and all that kind of stuff, and both of them was naked, and they finally got the woman. One of the players tackled the woman and got her to calm down, and the Cub reporter, Cub reporter said, "Should we report this?" And he said, "No, we don't talk about stuff like this in the sports page."
Maybe she was a reincarnated Lorena Bobbitt.
Yeah, but that's a typical Babe Ruth story in the mid-20s. or late
Oh
late
my
20s till he
gosh.
met his last wife, Claire, and she calmed him down quite a bit. But Babe, he was around her, that's for sure. But back in those days, they didn't talk about stuff like that.
No, they
They just
didn't.
whatever was on the field.
Yeah, whatever happened in the
That's what they
train
said.
stayed in the train.
Yeah. And now they talk about everything. So
Yeah, it's everything is out in the open. So
yeah,
the American League Central, Minnesota is on top still.
yeah. Minnesota. I'm going to see them next Sunday,
Yeah.
and they're going to be playing the Texas Rangers. So I'm looking forward to that game. But Minnesota, they're hanging in there. That's a very weak division, though.
Right.
When they played the Cardinals this year, I didn't really see they had that much, but they got a couple players on that team that are pretty good, and so they're doing very well for what they've got.
Yeah.
So, um, and they
And
made a decent trade, and I saw it the guy's name a while ago, and I have no idea who this guy is, but what I think about the Twins is a guy named Buxton, and is a pretty good ball player, and I think he plays the outfield, and a couple other guys, and that's about all I know about the Twins.
yeah.
But I should know more about them next week.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be an exciting game to see them against Texas here coming up, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah, take a few videos for us. So, and
we
then you
will.
and
We
then
will.
you've got Cleveland right behind there.
Yeah, Cleveland will probably make the. I don't think Detroit's going to overcome Cleveland. I think Cleveland will probably be a wild card team.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course you got the White Sox and Kansas City.
Well, White Sox having a bad year. They're going to be trading a lot of their ball players. They've already traded a lot of their ball players during the trading uh, deadline.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have to do a rebuild completely.
Yeah.
Kansas City's always rebuilding.
Yeah.
It's like Pittsburgh. They're always rebuilding. It's a small market team, and they don't have the payroll.
The payroll, right, to attract the
Yep.
good players. And of course, in the American League West, you have Texas on top, and of course Houston's right behind them, you know.
There's your two teams right there,
So what
Texas.
do you expect
Um,
this weekend between Texas and Minnesota? Who do you think will take it?
well, I think Texas will clean up. I think Texas will take the series.
Uh-huh.
3 games. I think they'll probably win 2 out of the 3,
Yeah.
and because that's what all these teams always wish for is just win the series.
Yeah.
And I like to see. I don't know who's going to pitch Sunday, but I like to see if Matt Scherzer is going to pitch for Texas on Sunday.
Right.
He's kind of past his prime. He's 40 years old, and he had that mega contract with the Mets,
Right.
and I don't think he's pitched that great since coming over, but he's a gamer. He'll be in there by the end of the year. He'll be okay.
Yeah.
So I think that should be Texas should be able to beat Minnesota.
Then you've got Seattle and the Angels right behind that, and of course Oakland's really bad, really bad.
Yeah, see Seattle. Seattle. They have a young ball player that was supposed to be a superstar this year. They had a great year last year, and he started out real slow, and now nobody can get him out. So
Wow.
it looked like he found his stroke, but it's too late now for Seattle.
Right.
So it's definitely going to be Texas and Houston in that division.
Yeah. Yeah.
Houston's Houston.
Yeah.
They picked up Verlander, which was another one of those Mets pitchers that was a superstar. They got $40 million a year,
Yeah.
and he's going to be he'll rise to the occasion too. So
Yeah. And then, of course, looking at the National League, man, it looks like Atlanta has just run away with it. They've got 80 wins and
yeah,
52
I was going to
losses.
say something about Oakland. Interesting to note that the entire payroll for the Oakland A's this year
Uh-huh.
was like 67 million. That's
Yeah.
everybody on the team, all 26 ball players.
Wow.
Okay, was $67 million, and the Mets paid Verlander and Scherzer $40 million each,
Oh my
$80 million,
gosh. That is
and they're not
incredible.
even with the Mets anymore. They didn't do anything with the Mets. They had very good years.
Wow, that's pretty interesting that two players pretty much can take up the payroll of an entire team that sucks.
Yeah,
Well, it looks like Atlanta pretty much has wrapped up its division, huh? It looks that way. My gosh, look at that.
yeah,
80 to 42.
yeah. Pretty much. Atlanta's got some. They've got Acuna that's having just a career year. He'll probably get the most valuable player. And then you've got other ball players. Matt Olson's I think he is leading the league in home runs. And there's some other, just a great organization. I did see some negative stuff about Atlanta the other day, though, that most of their ball players haven't had a day off all year.
Wow.
And they may be, when it comes September, they may be running out of gas. But their manager's pretty good, Brian Sitnick or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an old time baseball manager, and he's probably got something up his sleeve. Probably in September, he's going to probably rest the regulars,
Mm-hmm.
I would think. But Acuna's been unreal,
Yeah.
and and Matt Olson too. So
Yeah.
you know, they good team.
Yeah.
Everything about it, good team, good pitching, stuff like that.
Now, who do you think
And
will be
Atlanta,
wild card potential there from that division? You think it'll be Philly or Miami?
oh, I think it'll be Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw today a statistic on Schwarber. He's got like 32 homers and doing okay. And then, they're getting some other ball players back, and they're kind of coming together as a team now.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a wild card team for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened last year when a wild card team gets hot. They go to the World Series.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's exactly what Philadelphia did last year. They beat in St. Louis, they beat a very good Cardinal team. That was, with Albert and all the other ball players. Paul Goldschmidt had a most valuable player a year. Pujols, we've talked about him a million times, and all the other ball players. And Philadelphia came in for that 2-game series there in St. Louis and swept both games.
Yeah.
So, so it's just a team can get hot,
Yeah.
as a wild card team.
Yeah. And then, of course, you've got the other two down at the bottom, the Mets and the Washington Nationals.
Yeah,
There's,
well, the Cardinals are playing the Mets right now.
mm,
The polar bear was hurt for a long time. That's Pete Alonso, and he's back. And this weekend, he's hit 3 homers in St. Louis. I think he's got 39 homers for the year,
mm-hmm.
and I think he's got well over 100 RBIs. Not much of an average, but he never did hit for average. But and they got a few Mets have got some. They're playing, youngsters. A lot of their veteran ball players they trade away to dump payroll.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're going to be rebuilding. And Washington picked up some good ball players, good young ball players during the trading deadline. So they may be better next year.
Yeah.
Miami's kind of a surprise. Under Skip Schumacher, we've talked about him, ex-Cardinal, and he's done a pretty good job with Miami. They need a few more pieces on that lineup,
Right. Right.
but that's something to look forward to next year, though.
Yeah. And then, of course, in the Central, you've got Milwaukee, in first place, and the Cubs are just right behind them. The Cubs seem to be on fire.
Yeah. Can you change your screen,
No, I didn't.
please?
I didn't. I didn't change my screen. Oh,
Can you change your screen?
oh. Yeah, there we go.
There you
Sorry
go.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Milwaukee and the Cubs and Cincinnati. Hey, Cincinnati's, Milwaukee will probably win that division, but I think that I'm going to pick the Cubs for a round for wild card team.
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati's a little too young.
Yeah.
Okay, they had a good year. Um, if we had the Joey Votto of old, yeah, maybe, but Votto is about, he's this is probably his last year or next year, and he's not having that great a year anyway. But I think the Cubs are on fire, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about
You know,
that.
Tony Bellinger, I think he's like he's like second or third in the league in batting average.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think he's like hitting like 330, 332 or something like that. And they've got some. They're coming on. I think the Cubs will probably hit that. Will they go all the way against Milwaukee? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think Milwaukee's got better pitching.
Right. Right. And then, of course, you've got your Redbirds down there, Doug.
At the bottom, man.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I had to look at the lineup today. On the Cardinals, and at we had a regular, we had a veteran on first base, Paul Goldschmidt, but we had a second baseman was a rookie. Okay, a guy named, I think his name was Furman.
Yeah.
Okay, and then on shortstop we brought up the young phenom Mason Wynn.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about him. He was down in Memphis. Him and Jordan Walker we saw last year in Corpus Christi playing the hooks
Yeah.
on the Baby Birds, and we got to meet his parents, okay, and everything, and we exchanged. We were out there waiting for the Cardinal bus after the game, and Diva had went to get some hot dogs and ran into Mason's dad the next day too, and they
Oh,
talked,
wow.
and so yeah, and Mason, he's a Houston kid,
Yeah.
okay, and I was kind of surprised they didn't bring him up sooner, but when they got rid of Paul DeYoung, and then Donovan went down, and now and Donovan's down, so we kind of run out of bodies. So they finally brought him up, and he's playing today. He's got the number 0.
Yeah.
He got his first hit Friday night.
Yeah.
Interesting to note that it was an infield grounder, third base, and he ran out the ball.
Yeah.
And the third baseman threw the ball over to the first baseman, Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
And yeah, Alonso, he kind of caught the ball, but he thought thought he could get him out. And he was kind of upset with himself. So they ruled the ball a hit, but then Alonso, not knowing it was Mason Wynn's first hit, threw the ball in the stands in disgust.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Okay. So the St. Louis fans didn't like that. But then, Stevie K, the Cardinals' first base coach, came over and talked to Alonso, and he said, "Hey, did you know what you just did?" And he says, "What?" He says, "That was Mason's first hit in the majors." And he's, "Oh my God!" So he went over to apologize to Mason, and everything's cool, and everybody. So he said he felt bad about it and everything. And then they recovered the ball after. The ushers went out and recovered the ball.
Yeah.
They found the fan that caught the ball, and they recovered it. So everything's cool, but that was kind of an interesting deal. Yeah. This kid's going to be good, I think.
Yeah.
He's got a rocket arm, and he can hit, and he can run. And,
Yeah.
him and Jordan Walker, they're both good friends, and they both came up through the Cardinal farm system. Both of them are 21 years old.
Yeah.
Jordan Walker, they came in, and they came up through A ball, and then they went into Double A last year with the Springfield Cardinals, and then they brought him up to Jordan made the team at spring training, and then Mason, even though he had a good spring training, they kept him down, and down in Memphis, started out slow, but he come on strong, so
Yeah.
he's gonna be okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, in the National League West, no surprise there, the Dodgers seem to be doing fairly well.
Dodgers, yeah, Dodgers. Mookie Betts. Whatever you play him, he does well. He's got like maybe like 32 homers. He can run. He can field. He can do anything. Good ball player. He started out with Boston a couple years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and he became a free agent. And Boston couldn't afford him, and and so he went to Los Angeles. But Mookie Betts has played wherever they play him, second base or right field or whatever. He's one of those ball players who can play anywhere,
Yeah,
and he can hit with power. So
yeah,
I'm, good average. So he's their big hit,
yeah,
big guy. And Dodgers, they always seem to find somebody in their farm system they can plug in.
yeah. As far
So
as a
they
wild card, do you think it's going to be San Francisco or Arizona?
no, it's going to be San Francisco.
Yeah.
Um, San Francisco, man, they're talking about a team with no names. That's a no-name team, okay? And you would think they would have made some better trades on the trading deadline, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, and but they're still hanging in there. So I guess maybe the management felt they didn't need a whole lot. So
Yeah.
San Francisco will
Yeah.
be. I think they're going to be. It's going to be the Dodgers and the Giants. The old kind of a throwback back to the '60s when they had the great Dodger and Giant teams.
Right. Right. And
For the wild card.
of course, San Diego. Well, they've just haven't had their. It just hasn't been their year.
Yeah, I saw a post yesterday or the other day that Albert Albert seems to think that San Diego Albert Pujols
Uh.
in one of the baseball shows seems to think that San Diego's not out of it.
Oh,
He says
really?
they still got the potential to get back in it.
Yeah.
At this point in time, I don't think they're not gonna make it,
Yeah. Yeah.
even on a wild card
Yeah.
slot.
And then, of course, the Rockies are at the bottom.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
Rockies are on the bottom, man. I don't know what we've talked about this in the past. I don't know what the Rockies franchise is going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. All righty. Well, it was a pretty good wrap up of the entire week. You got to look at, you did some trade stuff as well. And I know you're headed off to Minnesota this coming weekend and catching a game with the Rangers. So we definitely will not have a live episode of Doug's Dugout this coming weekend because Doug's going to be a fan this weekend, a live fan. So
yeah, we're trying to get out of this hot weather we got down there to get up to Minnesota. But my understanding, game day may not be that cool. But
oh no.
the good thing about Minnesota is that down here in South Texas at night it's lucky to drop down to 82 or 83 degrees, right?
Right.
Okay, up in Minnesota, it drops down. It may be 90 during the day, but it'll drop down to 65 or so at night,
Yeah. Well, that'll
which is
be.
kind of nice.
Yeah. Now is the game during the day or the evening?
It's during the day.
Ah, okay. Well,
Yeah, and I'm
maybe.
looking forward to it's
Yeah.
Kids Day. I picked that day to take everybody because it was Kids Day, and
Yeah.
Jace has the opportunity to run the bases after the game,
Right.
so that's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And there's some other effective, and so we're all five of us are going, so it'll be. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah. Well, definitely enjoy your time up there, and we'll be definitely catching back up the week after. Hopefully you can take some video clips so we can see those, and we won't have to
Yeah,
worry.
well, I won't.
Huh?
I won't know what to do with all the green up there. Green grass and leaves on the trees and
Oh
shade
my
and
gosh!
actual trees. Actual oak trees
Right?
instead of these scraggly bushes they got down here in South Texas. And
Well,
you know,
it's either
I
this.
saw a video.
Huh? Go
I
ahead.
saw a video the other day that it was an e-bike. It was an e-bike trail,
Yeah.
or they got e-bike trails all over Minnesota up there, and from Taylor's house you can actually take an e-bike to the stadium.
Wow.
and you park your bike at the stadium.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, well, definitely,
we won't
down
do that, but
yeah.
but it's kind of interesting to.
Well,
And
definitely
we're we
down
plan
here
on.
it's either mesquite or concrete and not much of anything else.
Yeah, not much of anything else down here. I mean, it's just these days are definitely the dog days of summer because it just keeps on dragging on down here.
Well,
And unfortunately we're going to be like that. We're going to be like this till probably maybe the
November.
last. Yeah, get this, after the World Series is over with,
I know.
and
I know.
that's usually the last week in October,
Yeah.
almost November,
Yeah.
and it'll still be hotter than hell down here. Till then.
Oh no. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And ever there, and you watch these ball games, and you go up, and if it's an East Coast team, shoot, it's like 40 degrees up there. They're all snuggled up and stuff in the stands and stuff.
Right.
And down here it's still the 90-degree, 95-degree weather.
That's right.
I
You
think
don't
this point in time down here, I think everybody would just take 88 degrees down here.
Yeah. I mean, down here you learned how to sweat out of places you didn't think you could sweat.
Oh, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Anyway, Doug, well, definitely have a good time up there. And we'll catch you back when you return. And of course, don't forget, tomorrow we've got a preview of the Republican candidates for president. The debate is scheduled for this Wednesday, but we're going to have a slight preview looking at all the candidates that actually qualified to be on the debate. I'm not really sure if Trump's going to show up. Maybe he will, maybe he won't.
No, he said he wasn't going. He said he wasn't going to show up, but maybe he'll show up the last minute. You never know.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's just trying on his striped pin suit.
Would it be somebody asked somebody? I think I saw a soundbite the other day, and this guy from CNN, this Jake, what's his name? Last name Prosser, or
I don't
one of
remember.
the one of the Trump haters. He said something about, well, they, if he goes to prison. Oh, I tell you, it was Neil Cavuto on Fox
Oh,
asked who did he? Was it Mike Pence? No, Barr,
yeah.
Bill Barr.
Oh, yeah. Well,
If
he's another Trump
if
hater.
Trump goes to prison, if Trump goes to prison, okay, well the Secret Service have to go with him. And Bill Barr says he's not going to prison.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of ways you can get around that. I mean, they can put him under house arrest. I mean,
Right.
house arrest at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, that's really tough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
It'll be really tough.
that's really tough. But
He'll be like El Chapo
I
used
don't.
to be down in Mexico.
Yeah, yeah, and he built the El Cop. Pablo Escobar. He built his own prison,
Yes, he
and
did.
he hired the guards. He hired the guards and paid them.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
That is true. That is true.
and then he
It,
got bored being in there, and
yeah,
he could do whatever he want to.
he'll probably cut a plea deal and say, you know what, I'm dropping out. Just leave me alone for the rest of my life. And you know,
Well, O'Reilly seems to think he'll do the plea deal on the documents. They got him on that. He's
yeah,
guilty.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
but that's not a big charge.
yeah,
And in Georgia, that DA is going to get probably impeached.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and so, and then what's his name? This the DA in New York City. They don't even know what the charge is.
Yeah,
Alvin Bragg says, "Well, I'll tell you when it's time.
yeah.
I'm not going to tell you right now what the charge is." So, you know, I was
Well,
telling David the other day, wouldn't it be something that that Biden and Pence, they cancel each other out,
yeah.
and neither one of them are neither one of them get nominated,
Oh my gosh.
and it'll be somebody like the senator from West Virginia. What's his name? The name escapes me.
Uh,
Um,
what's his name? Uh, isn't it Mansion?
Manchin.
Yeah.
Manchin will get nominated,
Oh gosh.
and maybe for the Republicans, and maybe somebody might be a wild card, like somebody like Vivek, you know,
Oh gosh.
Ramaswamy. I
Yeah.
think I finally pronounced the last name right.
Yes, I think you
Yeah,
have.
yeah, Ramaswamy. I've been
Yeah.
practicing that. Okay,
Yeah.
I like him. I
Yeah.
think but he's barely legal
I know. And he
as
doesn't have
age
a whole
goes.
lot of, yeah, and of course he doesn't have a whole lot of experience, so but we'll
But neither
see.
did Trump, though.
Oh yeah, look how we
Neither
ended
did
up.
Biden.
Well, yeah, but you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway,
But
Doug, all right. Well, definitely that's on for this week. So if you get a chance to watch tomorrow, that'd be great. Everybody who wants to tune in tomorrow to take a look at a preview of those candidates. And then, of course, once again, the debate is scheduled for Wednesday. I believe at 8 p.m. on Fox. I think that's where it's at. So
23rd, yeah,
the
yeah.
23rd. All righty, everybody. Well, that was it for the 10th episode of Doug's Dugout. And we will see you not this Sunday, but the following Sunday upon Doug's return for episode number 11. Doug, have a great Sunday. Head out to the pool or get on that e-bike. There's still a few more hours before the weekend is out.
Yeah, and the temperature is only right now. The temperature is only 95 degrees because
Only 95.
yeah,
It's 5 degrees cooler
and
than
the
it was an hour ago.
and the wind's only blowing 15 miles an hour. So
That's
hey,
right.
we got it made down here in South Texas.
Oh, yeah. All righty, Doug. We'll catch you later.
Okay, Danny, take care.
All righty. Bye-bye.